Welcome to GFT, Galactic Figure Talk, a podcast about Star Wars and Star Wars action figure collecting.
Awesome, yeah!
The reason they're 3.75 inches tall is because the first mock-up figures that I made were Fisher-Price Adventure People.
I will freeze your body in carbonite forever, Han Solo! Not so fast!
We finally launched 6-inch when I felt the time was right. We needed a new spark.
We started selling all of the action figures through the fan club, and our most successful was the Cantina Band. That was enormously one of the best-selling items we've ever sold through the fan club.
Whoa! Darth Vader!
I used my nephew as a hand model on the Wampa box. He's the one with the little hand that's in there.
It's Kenner's new Star Wars action figures. Now, welcome your host, Chris B.
Welcome to another episode of GFT, Galactic Figure Talk. My name is Chris B. I'm your host, and we have a lot of catching up to do. So let's do it. Alright, so yesterday morning, Hasbro came out and announced the Gift the Galaxy campaign that's going to run for 6 weeks from now until December 17th. Every Tuesday, they're going to announce Star Wars action figures for the Black Series or the Vintage Collection. And yeah, it's shorter than last year. Last year, the Gift the Galaxy program ran for 10 weeks. This year, it runs for 6 weeks. I think that's a good thing because I felt very exhausted after 10 weeks of covering this. So 6 weeks feels about right. And we already have one reveal from week one under our belts now. So I'll be talking about that in a second. But just to give you guys a reminder, in previous years, these kinds of campaigns always seem to be driven by Lucasfilm with an announcement on StarWars.com every week. But this time around, it seems to be just a Hasbro only thing, which I find interesting, especially because they kept the same graphics from last year and they kept the same name as well. So I find that to be quite interesting. And if you guys remember, these kinds of campaigns go back to the COVID days. Around 2020 was the very first one that we got with Mando Mondays. Then a year later, we got Bring Home the Bounty. Then we had Obi-Wan Wednesdays. Then in 2023, we had two of them with Mando Mania and also Gift the Galaxy last year during the holiday season, just like this year. But like I said, they were always driven by Lucasfilm and not by Hasbro only. So it kind of is unclear as to where those reveals are going to happen. This morning, the first reveal was done through GamesRadar.com. I imagine they focus on video games, and I guess it makes sense because the figures that they showed this morning were all gaming grades Black Series figures. So there's nothing for the Vintage Collection, and it was only for the Black Series. And they showed 4 figures, 2 different 2-packs, and both of those are Amazon exclusive, and they'll go up for pre-order tomorrow, 11/13/2024 at 1 o'clock East Coast time. The sets are going to cost $44.99 each, which I actually find to be a pretty good price for Black Series figures, especially when it comes to exclusives. Now, the first set that they showed was a Clone Commando and a B-1 Battle Droid. They're both painted differently from what we've gotten previously. This set is based on Star Wars Battlefront 2. And then the second set they showed was Dagan Gera and a BX Commando droid from the Star Wars Jedi Survivor video game. So if you're a fan of those games, those 2 sets might be for you. For people who are looking for new stuff, well, there's not a lot of new stuff here except for some paint differences. And of course, Dagan Gera, he actually comes with his Force arm, which the single box version does not include. So, you know, I can already see a lot of people canceling their single boxed version because why would you want an incomplete figure if you can get the full figure here in this 2-pack. Don't even get me started on this, but yeah, Black Series is, I don't know what they're doing with Black Series, but it's just one repaint and one repack after another, and accessories or figure parts which should be included with a regular release are kind of hidden behind these kinds of weird exclusive 2-pack paywalls now, I guess. So, but at least they're making the full figure now. And if you're a fan of this character and a video game, so this might be of interest to you. The links to purchase both of those 2-packs are in the podcast description, so check those out. And also, if you purchase anything that comes through galacticfigures.com, through any of the affiliate links that I post, I just want to say thank you so much, because that's currently really the only way in how you can support my efforts with galacticfigures.com and what I do with the website. I do get paid a commission if you make a purchase that way, and it does help me to keep the server lights on, so to speak. So thank you for that. Now, are those 2-packs very exciting? To me personally, they're not. To me, they feel extremely lazy, especially when I look at the Black Series figures that they've done for Jedi Survivor so far. It's really, really sad. Really sad, I have to be honest with you guys. Go to galacticfigures.com, go to the Black Series site section, use the filter on the top for the entertainment, go to the video games and sort Black Series figures by video games for Jedi Survivor. You will see 11 figures released so far, and out of those 11, you get basically 2 unique characters with Cal Kestis and the bad guy, Dagan Gera. None of the crew from Jedi Survivor. Nothing. It's just one battle droid repaint after another, commando droid repaints, super battle droid repaints, a biker scout repack. The lack of newness in gaming grades is absolutely stunning. Stunning. Like, the fact that they haven't even made the crew yet from Jedi Survivor and just keep pushing out one repaint and repack after another is really, really unfortunate. I gotta be honest with you guys. It's, obviously there needs to be a balance. They need to have repacks and repaints in the line to make it affordable. I get it. But we've reached a point with Black Series where it's just so extremely greedy to a point where I think it's just sucking out all the fun. And quite honestly, who is not going to cancel the single box Dagan Gera pre-order now when you can get the full figure here in this 2-pack? But that's what it is, and that's where we're at with Black Series. And those were the first week announcements for Gift the Galaxy. If they're going to alternate, I would imagine that we might see some vintage collection figures next week on Tuesday. And I'll be covering that, of course, on galacticfigures.com, so make sure to stop by the website and check out what was announced. Now, there's going to be retro collection news coming to us on December 8th. Mr. Steve Evans, he will be at the Farthest From Collectors Convention. It's a long-running show in the UK, of course. And it's a show that's dedicated to Star Wars vintage toy collectors. Not vintage collection, but real vintage stuff. And Steve Evans, the Hasbro Senior Product Design Director for Marvel and Star Wars, is going to do a presentation for about an hour. And during that presentation, he will announce new stuff for the retro collection. Now, as far as new stuff on store shelves goes, there is quite a bit of stuff. I mean, the latest wave of TVC figures is out. And I got my way through a retailer in Canada that has sold out, though, of those figures now. But I think that Hasbro Pulse is also mailing those out. And you might actually get them through Amazon as well. Overall, I would say that this wave of TVC figures is unfortunately underwhelming. I'm just looking for new stuff, right? And I look here at Bo-Katan. Not even quite sure what's new about her, but she might be a repaint, but just looking at the figure here in the packaging, it looks like a figure that we already have. The Chet Trooper, which is in this wave of TVC figures, also feels like it's just a repaint of a figure that we already have. For Grand Admiral Thrawn, I think I've mentioned it previously, but they just used a generic Imperial officer body, which is just not the right thing to do here in this case, simply because he does have a pretty unique body type in the Ahsoka TV series. And it is reflected in the Black Series line, so I don't know why they couldn't just do that for TVC in this case. The highlight for me in this new TVC wave is Ahsoka Tano from Peridia in her white outfit. Definitely the best looking figure and something new that we don't have yet. And then the other two figures here that I currently have is K2SO, which is just a repack on a different card, and Mando, Din Djarin himself, different card back, same figure as before, but now also includes a white jetpack from Season 3. So, alright, lots of figures that I feel like we've already purchased, already have in our collections. Now, the one figure I'm still missing from this wave is the new character, the Jude Law character from Skeleton Crew, but he should be here in a couple of days, so fingers crossed. And talking about the Skeleton Crew, the latest Black Series figures from Skeleton Crew are now in stock on Hasbro Pulse. They're also up on Amazon if you want to get them there. And I think that is great because it's cool to get these preview figures right before the show comes out. At least that's how I feel about it. It kind of gets me hyped up about the show. Actually, that's how we learn the character names, because how else would you know what these kids or these pirates are called if it's not for these Star Wars action figures? So yeah, kudos to Hasbro for getting at least the Black Series versions out there. And quite honestly, it's always difficult for me to tell because, I archive Star Wars action figures on galacticfigures.com, obviously, and the majority of figures are 3 3/4 inch. So I don't know if it's because of that people just keep asking for more 3 3/4 inch. My audience, even though I do have a Black Series audience, but my audience is mainly asking for 3 3/4 inch. People are not asking for Black Series 6-inch stuff. And people are not asking for these kinds of weird variants where they're putting out Shinhati and then they, half a year later, the same figure comes out again, but now she has a cloak all of a sudden. Those are the kinds of things that you can do in a 3 3/4 inch line, or that's something that you could do back in the days when figures were like $5 or $10. But now when you're paying $25 or basically $30 once you add tax to it, those kinds of variants, people are not happy about that kinds of stuff and how the Black Series line is treated in that regards. So that's what I'm seeing in my audience. It's just the way it is. So anyways, Black Series Skeleton Crew preview figures are shipping basically, which is great. And there's also a whole bunch of other TVC stuff shipping, like the E-Wing, the Moff Gideon, Imperial Light Cruiser Hallway, the Armorer's Forge playset is also shipping. And then the latest that I've seen is that the brand new Black Series 6-inch line, which includes the newly sculpted Luke Skywalker, a newly sculpted Princess Leia. It includes Basil from the Acolyte and Vernestra Rowe from the Acolyte as well. So those figures have already been released and they're out in Canada. We don't have them here yet in the United States, but I think it's just a matter of a few weeks now at this point. It's interesting because those figures were announced for, I believe, spring of 2025. And here we are, not even in winter of 2024 yet. Fall 2024, and those figures are already available. Now, one set which keeps getting pushed back is the Black Series 3-pack on GameStop. The Phantom Menace 3-pack that a lot of people are anticipating adding to the collections, the one that has Obi-Wan from Episode 1, Darth Maul, and Qui-Gon Jinn in it. It's out already in Canada, but for some reason the US version is delayed. Not by a whole lot, I think just by a few weeks from what it looks like, so it should be out fairly soon. But that's still something that's going to be shipping this year or in the coming weeks already. So as you can see, there's already a lot of stuff out there, so it's a little overwhelming, but like always, I do post the stuff on galacticfigures.com if you want to keep up and stay in the know. Check out galacticfigures.com for the latest news on that. All right, so before wrapping up this episode, I do want to share some thoughts about some of the latest TVC sets that have come out. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is the E-Wing vehicle, which is really cool. If you've purchased some of those vehicles in recent years, you know the quality. It feels heavy. It does have a really good weight to it. It looks nicely detailed. It has pipes going all over the ship. It has all the details that you would want from it. So the sculpting is definitely there. It looks great on display. And it is a vehicle which Hasbro has never done before. It, of course, has the expanded universe history that goes back to the mid-90s. So this is truly a wonderful addition to the collection. My only complaint about this ship is, of course, the lack of paint. And it is so apparent that they just didn't include a wash with this ship, which is just really, really frustrating. The cockpit specifically doesn't even have a red or blue or green button painted. There's nothing painted inside the cockpit. There are no stickers included. I mean, how is it possible that Hasbro releases a vehicle like this in 2024 when even Kenner in the 70s and in the 80s was at least able to add some stickers so you can add more details to the ship? But Hasbro, nope, nothing. Just not gonna paint it. Gonna save some money this way, right? Yeah, just really unfortunate. And it's sad because there are people who've been waiting for this ship for literally decades for Hasbro to finally make it, and then they finally do, and then they cheap out on the paint. The sculpting looks great, the ship looks great, the included exclusive astromech droid is fantastic, but again, saving money on the paint. Should you get the E-Wing? Absolutely you should. It's 25% off right now on DisneyStore.com if you spend over $100. And that brings the price down to about $75 for this, and that is a good price nowadays. The next set I want to talk about is the Moff Gideon Imperial Light Cruiser Hallway. And that is a set that looks simple. It is simple, and yet it offers so much. I think this is a really cool set. When I got it, I was a little surprised just how big the box was and actually how heavy it felt. When you pull it out, I mean, it's just a bunch of plastic parts that you plug together. You're done within, like, I don't know, a minute or two, and you have it all set up. But the cool thing about this, this hallway, even though it feels so simple, is that it does give you the opportunity to display a whole variety of different scenes, right? I mean, you could display Moff Gideon fighting Din Djarin in it. You can have the girls from Mando running down the hallway shooting the stormtroopers. You can have Dark Troopers set up just punching the walls, right? You can have Luke Skywalker running down the hallway and just taking out Dark Troopers. There is quite a few different ways on how you can utilize this really simple setup. And best of all, because it isn't all that big, you can set it up in your Billy bookcase if you have some IKEA furniture. I mean, it definitely fits in there. So in that regards, it's done really, really well. The included Mandalorian Privateer is a nice add-on, an exclusive figure to the set. I take it. Why not? It's something that we don't have in the collection yet, so sure, I'll take it. But other than that, I know it's simple. It's a fairly simple set, but it works well because it does give you a lot of different display possibilities. And if you have a lot of room, I mean, you could just build this out. You can buy multiple pieces and then just stick them together. You can build around a corner. You can make it longer. So, yeah, I mean, very interesting set, and I like it. I like that Hasbro is doing that. Then let's move on to the vintage collection, the Armorer's Forge. That's the last set that I want to talk about here on the podcast. Just like with the Moff Gideon's Light Cruiser Hallway, is that it does give you an instant display piece where you basically have a centerpiece with the forge. You have a tool cabinet where the armorer can store a bunch of tools in it. And then, you can just assemble your Mandalorians around the forge, basically. And for that alone, it's worth the price of admission. You also get an exclusive Armorer figure, which was improved from the previous single-carded release. The card back is different, so you get a different call-out from the photo from the TV show. But as for the figure, they updated the shawl, right? So the first figure from 2020 had the plastic shawl. You now get the soft goods. You can take it off the figure if you wanted to, but you probably want to keep it on. It does have a hole in it, and the figure itself has a hole in it as well. And then you can take the included jetpack and plug that into the armorer. And that's the look from the end of Season 3 when they had the big battle. So yeah, very cool that Hasbro updated this figure. Now, if you just wanted to get the figure, it basically is hidden behind a paywall because you have to get the whole Forge playset now. But at least it's a way to get something that's different and something that's a little bit new into the 3 3/4 inch line. As for the playset, the Forge itself, just a couple of pieces that you plug together. It looks good on display. I really like it, and I would recommend that you pick it up if you like The Mandalorian. 2 gripes though that I have with it. The first gripe is, again, just like with the E-Wing, the lack of paint on it is really upsetting. I mean, the Forge was underground, it was in the dark spot, it was gritty, it was dirty, it was run down. This playset is all clean. There's no dirt, no weathering, no nothing on this. And having collected for since 95, right, since the modern days kicked off again, like Star Wars figures always had weathering on it, always a little wash on it, give that lived in George Lucas feeling to those figures. But not in this case. I mean, this playset is very clean. Another thing which I wish they would have included here are lights. To have something to shine at the Forge from underneath that would light up and just make it a nicer display piece. I mean, how cool would it be to have a button that you can flip and then just keep it running and have it on display while the lights are on? I don't know why they just don't go that route anymore these days with electronics. It's really, really sad because look at the Holocom figures for the Black Series line. I mean, those figures come with a little holo puck, and you press the button and it shines the light and it illuminates the figure from the bottom up. Why not include something similar here with the Forge, just to give collectors a little bit more? It's like to make the display pop a little bit more. I mean, who's really going to go out now and look for LED lighting? I mean, it just feels incomplete a little, right? I don't know. It's like for a collector's display piece with just a little bit more that you can give collectors here, I think it would be great. And the way it is now, it's good. It's really good. But it's just missing this little extra to be exceptionally great. So, do I recommend you get it? Yes, go get it. But you guys know where I'm coming from, right? I mean, I love this stuff, but I feel like they're just missing just a little bit more. Just, a little bit more, and it could have been just fantastic. All right, and then I think that's where I'm going to wrap up this episode of GFT. All these reviews are up on galacticfigures.com if you want to check out some diorama shots. I do have some images where I put the iPhone underneath the Forge and shined the flashlight up to get some illuminated shots. You can check those out. They look great, and that's why I'm bringing up the lighting issue, because, yeah, it would have been brilliant to have something that illuminates this little set, But yeah, everything that I talked about is up on galacticfigures.com. The pre-orders for tomorrow, or whenever you listen to this podcast, for those two packs from the Black Series line are also up on Galactic Figures or in the podcast description as well. So make sure to check that out. And for all Star Wars action figure news, as always, galacticfigures.com is your source. That's where you can find me. Also, we have a lively Facebook group. We have a lively Facebook page. The Instagram page for Galactic Figures is also hop in and pop in, so make sure to subscribe there as well. And all I can say is thank you guys for listening, for me to ramble on about those Star Wars action figures, and I'll catch you on the next one.
It's a wrap for this episode, but the next one is just around the corner, so make sure to subscribe. Meanwhile, have fun browsing over 4,000 Star Wars figures on galacticfigures.com, the Star Wars action figure database. The website helps you look up and identify Star Wars figures. Leave your own figure reviews in the comments, or check out photo galleries, figure info, news, press releases, or event coverage from New York Toy Fair and Star Wars celebrations. Thanks for listening. Check the links in the description, and remember to subscribe.